Hey, welcome back. And if you're new here, my name's Christina Kent, and I'm a full-time fine artist based in San Francisco. And today I wanted to talk about something that is pretty uncomfortable, and that is failure. And not so much failure as an artist, but failure in my art business. And just as a quick note, this video isn't sponsored by anyone, but if you want to support my work, you can purchase my paintings through my website, you can like, comment, subscribe to this channel, or you can join my Patreon. All of these things really help. So if you've been following my channel, you probably saw that at the beginning of this year, I decided to make the leap and switch to doing art full-time. And early on this year, I was doing really well. I had just had a ton of holiday sales and exhibitions. I had my solo show in January that was going extremely well. It was like a huge success for me, and I was really kind of riding on a high. So with all the success, with the sales that I was experiencing, and with several years under my belt of selling art and feeling like, okay, I kind of have a sense of how this stuff works, I was like, okay, I'm ready and excited to do this full time. And if you haven't seen the video, you can hear more about how I came to the decision to quit. And when I made the leap, I knew the success that I was riding on couldn't last forever. I already had enough experience selling my art that I knew that there were ups and downs in the market. Like the summer tends to be particularly slow. And so I was kind of expecting that. And I told myself, yeah, there are ups and downs, but I have enough experience under my belt that I'm not too concerned. I even told myself that, hey, even if my sales are really low, I have a lot of money in savings, so I'm well prepared to weather any downturns. But then, starting in April, it felt like everything just stopped. My art sales suddenly ground to a halt. Like, not just slow sales, but like completely stopped. I could not believe it. And at this time, I was making what I thought was my best work. And it's not like I raised my prices or anything, but yet still, I was making 0 sales. And to go from having so many sales in my solo show and to feel like I was, kind of on this career high to all of a sudden having no sales was really shocking. I didn't know what was going on, and I started to feel really nervous. And I was thinking, well, it's okay that my sales are slower because I still have a few commissions that are coming up. So I reached out to those collectors about the commissions they wanted to do, and one after another, all of them decided to postpone. Also, a curator who was going to come to my studio where I could potentially get gallery representation, they suddenly just started ghosting me. Collectors were canceling appointments, and then I got rejected from several residencies, awards, and other opportunities that I thought I was a really good fit for. So all of these things taken together, it just kind of felt like everywhere, every angle I was looking at, doors were getting slammed in my face. I was feeling so many no's, and I wasn't having much revenue come in. And I had experienced really low revenue years in the past, but this was the first year where I also had really high expenses because I am renting out a studio. I'm buying more and more art supplies because I'm making larger pieces. So in general, my art practice is getting more expensive. So I think the past couple months were the worst time where I was actually deeply in the red. All of these things taken together were just so stressful and filled me with doubt. I started questioning if I'd made the right decision to do this full time. And it was only like a couple months in. And like I said, I knew that this could happen going into it. Like when I quit my job, I was like, I know there's gonna be ups and downs. I have a lot of savings to help weather these ups and downs and keep my business going through that process. And yet when it actually happened, like when I actually felt the downs, it was really hard to deal with. I was really starting to doubt myself and wonder if I'd made the wrong decision. And my inner critic was going crazy at this point. My inner critic was saying that it was silly to think that someone like me could be a full-time artist, that this was a cute dream, but it was time to get real. It told me that my work was just a passing fad and that everyone was finally over it, and I should get over it too. So maybe you can relate, but yeah, my inner critic is super harsh. This continued for weeks, and my dread was just building more and more, wondering like, how long is this gonna last? Now I'm happy to say that my sales have picked up a little bit, still not as much, not where I'd like them to be, but they've picked up more, and I've been getting more opportunities, and I feel like doors are starting to open again. But how did I get through that dark time without losing hope? The first thing I did was really just feeling all of the emotions that I was feeling. I cried, I felt the fear, I journaled a lot, and tried to understand like what were all the emotions that I was going through, and letting those emotions run their course. And even like writing down what the inner critic was saying, like capturing the negative thoughts and being aware of the negative thoughts in my mind that were causing me all this stress. And I think it's so helpful when you just feel overwhelmed with emotion to write down how you're feeling and to express how that feels, or even to make an art piece out of it, just like sketching something that you feel like can convey your emotions. Next, I sort of switched into problem-solving mode. I started to investigate, is this just me or was this a broader thing that was happening in the art market? I spoke with some artist friends who also talked about experiencing less sales, and I even saw some artist YouTubers talking about a drop in sales and their recent failures as artists. So that really helped me feel better and feel like, okay, it's not just me and I'm not alone. I also shared my concerns with my partner, who's so supportive. He's not an artist, but he was really helpful in giving me perspective. And I think sometimes, like, if you're having trouble with what you're doing, it can be helpful to talk to someone who isn't in your field, because they can just give you some outside perspective that that can be just so valuable and that you can't always see when you're really deep in the weeds on something. My partner asked me if I thought that any artist that I loved had ever gone through a successful career without any rough patches. And I said, of course not. Like, it seems in every person's successful career, there's gonna be some bumps along the way. Like, no one has just a smooth career path for their whole life. So that really helped to normalize the struggles that I was going through and make me feel like, okay, it's just kind of a normal thing. It's painful, but it's a normal thing on the path to a successful career. And then lastly, I really shifted focus on my inner critic. So I looked at all the things that my inner critic had been saying, and I realized I was falling into the classic fallacy of the brain's negativity bias. So the negativity bias is this idea that we're primed to notice the negative things or the threats in our environment much more than the positive things. And a lot of researchers say that this is useful, or it has been useful for our ancestors in surviving. It's a lot more helpful to notice the threats in our environment rather than the benefits, because the threats could actually kill you. And I realized over the past few weeks, I was doing the exact same thing. I was focusing on all of the things that were going wrong in my career rather than enjoying and embracing the things that were going right. So while I was focusing on these exhibitions that I didn't get into, or these residencies or awards that I got rejected from, I wasn't thinking about one of the really big wins that I've had over the past few months, and that was getting accepted for a solo show next year. And this win was huge for my career because knowing that I have a solo show next year means that I can make lots of paintings over the next few months, and I know I'm gonna have a place to exhibit them here in San Francisco. And looking from the outside, you might think, yeah, why are you so concerned about all these other small things when you got a solo show? Like, that's a huge deal. I've also been working a lot on building art community, which might not result in a lot of sales in the short term, but I think is really great for my own mental health and also my career in the long run. So I've been hosting a lot of artists for studio visits, I've been going to lots of openings, and I've been starting to get to know a lot more local artists in the art scene here in the Bay Area. And that's awesome, and it's something I really want to celebrate. But when I was caught up in the negativity, I wasn't focusing on these great wins. Instead, I was just focusing on all the things that weren't working out. When I actually sat down and thought about this, when I saw that I was falling into the negativity bias, that helped me get a little bit of perspective and realize that, okay, this is what my brain is doing. It's natural for us to focus on the negative. So I just have to be very active in focusing on, in turning my attention to these good things that are happening and reminding myself of those every day. So all these things taken together, getting perspective, realizing that I was falling into the negativity trap, and talking with other artists, and kind of thinking about my career in this long term rather than short term, kind of quarter to quarter, all of that helped me get out of this doubt and negativity and reach a place where I just feel a lot more calm. I feel like as I'm experiencing these road bumps in my business, I'm learning new skills and ways of dealing with them that'll be helpful, because I know if I'm going to be doing this for my whole career, I'm going to experience this again and again. And I'm trying to make this video not just for you if you're going through a similar experience, but also hopefully for myself in the future, because I know I'm going to experience this again and again, and I want to remember what are the things that helped me escape from despair and focus on the positive and reach a more peaceful state of mind so that I don't panic. Because when we panic, when we're in despair, we can't think rationally and act accordingly. And sometimes we do need to make a major shift in our career, but what I realized after going through all these things was that I didn't need to, I was still making great work, I was still getting a lot of positive feedback, and yeah, I was experiencing a drop in sales and some rejections here and there, but over the long term, I was really happy with the direction my career was going, so I just needed to keep moving forward. And here, it's also really helpful to note all of the privilege that I have that supports me in having a small business as an artist. So I don't have any debt. I have actually a lot of savings that I was able to save up during my day job. I have a partner who I split expenses with, so that's really helpful. And I have a lot of supportive friends and family to where I know that even if things got really bad, I wouldn't be homeless. I'd always have a place to stay. I'm also young and don't have any serious health conditions, and I don't have any dependents. I don't have children who are depending on me. So that really helps in doing something as risky as a small business as an artist. And I know there are so many artists who are trying to make it as full-time artists without these privileges, and they have my deepest respect because I can't even imagine how difficult it would be if on top of worrying about my art sales, I had to worry about all of these other things. Compared to that, I realized my situation looks really easy. And that helped give me some perspective as well. And so as I mentioned earlier, things have gotten a little better in my business, but they're still going slower than I would like. So in this moment, I'm trying to focus on all these positive things, the things that have worked in my favor that I can be grateful for. I'm reminding myself that slow periods happen, they're completely normal, and they happen to everyone. I'm determined to stay focused, to keep my cool, and to keep making my best work. I know I do have so many great things to be excited for, and so that's what I'm focusing on. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful, and if you've been experiencing some failure recently yourself, I hope you feel a little bit less alone after hearing my experience. And hopefully some of the tips I mentioned today can help you overcome some of these obstacles when you face them. Thank you so much for watching, and feel free to share your questions or experiences in the comments below. And as always, a huge shout out to my supporters on Patreon. You guys are amazing. Thank you for supporting this channel and for making these videos happen. If you like my art, if you like my videos, and you want to help me make more, check out my Patreon at the link. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.